Well, hi everyone. It's Kim Murtola with Tupperware, and it is Christmas Eve. And I'm not quite sure how I'm so far behind, but I am. So we're baking bread right now. I'm doing this video so that you can see the whole thing in a few minutes. This actually does take an hour from start to finish, okay? Personally, I don't make bread very often. And so I'm going to do the old-fashioned fix and mix bowl. This is what I have in my kitchen. You can use, if you don't have the fix and mix bowl, you can use the Thtsa Bowl, okay? So either one will work. This recipe was actually formulated for this bowl. This is the original big Tupperware bowl. Okay, so I have already, there we go. I already have everything ready. I wanted to show you the last thing. It calls for 10 cups of flour. And there are a couple things about measuring flour. Usually when you measure it, you pull it out and then, shake off your thing and flatten it out. That actually compresses it. And since this calls for 10 cups of flour, if you do that each time, you'll actually wind up with 11 and 11 and a half, 12 cups of flour. Okay, this is experience speaking. So instead of doing that, take the flat edge of a knife, you can scoop it out and then just flatten it out, okay? If you want to make this wheat bread, you can. That actually was the plan, but it turned out that my wheat flour was too old. Smelled funny. And yes, it was stored in Tupperware, but Tupperware doesn't keep anything forever, okay? So just bear that in mind. So I have my 10 cups of flour. If you're going to do wheat, you would do 6 cups of white flour and 4 cups of wheat flour, okay? Otherwise, it makes it really dry. Okay, so I have 3 1/4 cups of warm water. And anytime you use yeast, you do want to be careful about the water or anything. What you looking for? Okay. Yeast is actually alive. It is alive. And you can kill it. Okay. So you really don't want your water to be, it's supposed to be between 100 and 110. Mine's a little bit more than that. Okay. So I have my little food thermometer, and we just keep it up here in the cabinet. So while I let that sit for a minute, I also have my butter ready, and this is 6 tablespoons of butter that I have melted in the microwave. This is our micro pitcher, and I just put the cover on it so that it didn't splatter all over the place. And one of the things that I'm going to do while I'm waiting, I'm just going to give my water a minute to cool down a little bit more. I have my 2 eggs, and I'm just going to pour them in the butter because those are refrigerator temperature. You can also kill your yeast by getting it too cold. So yeast is really kind of finicky. And so I mix my eggs, which are refrigerator temperature, with my butter, which is hot. And then it comes to room temperature, okay? So there's that. So that is ready. All right. So I'm going to come back to my fix and mix bowl, and I'm going to take my water, and you do need a big bowl for this, all right, because you need mixing room. And since that just had water in it, I'm just going to put it up there. And so first I have 3 packages of yeast. If you do a lot of baking and you keep it in the jar, then you would just use 3 tablespoons of this. And you do want to check, oh, I cut it off. You want to check the end. Anyway, that's not what you want to check. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So this is good until May 23rd of next year. So we're good with that. So we're just going to whisk our yeast in here and get it dissolved. And I'll list the recipe, but you want to add the ingredients in the order of the recipe. And there's something about yeast and sugar I don't know if the yeast eats the sugar or anyway, it does something.
It feeds it.
It feeds the sugar feeds the yeast. Oh, okay. So my husband knows about these things. Of course the phone's gonna ring. Okay, so next I'm going to add my 6 tablespoons of butter and my 2 eggs. Okay, and then I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of salt. If you are, salt really gives a good flavor to things. It enhances the flavor.
When you can, I've got to tell you some more about your COVID letter. Okay, bye.
Okay, so, what was I saying? Sorry, that was my mother. Oh, salt. If you're trying to cut salt out, you do have to use at least 2 teaspoons of salt. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start mixing in the flour, and you just want to kind of do it slowly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this, and I'll come back when it's all mixed in. Okay, so I have incorporated the flour. I will say that I didn't use it all, okay? I've been doing this recipe for quite a while, and it just seems like sometimes, and it's probably the way I measure the flour, it just seems like sometimes there's too much. And if the flour, if it's not easily incorporated, then you have enough flour. So I actually wound up with, I don't know, maybe a half a cup left. I did have to switch to a good sturdy spoon because when the dough gets this thick, a whisk won't work. Okay, it is a sticky dough, and so what you're going to do, I have my 3 loaf pans here. These 2 are actually Tupperware. They're plastic that go in the oven. They're good up to, this one's good up to 350 degrees. This one's good up to 480. And then I have, because this makes 3 loaves, I have my Pampered Chef one. I've buttered them. You can use, oh wait, I'm not using these yet. You can use shortening if you want. So the next step, I almost got ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm just going to get the rest of this dough off of here, and this actually is kind of yummy dough. If you want, you can just bake 1/3 of it and then separate the other 2/3 in half and store it in your freezer for a few months. You can use it for pizza dough. Sorry, you can use it for cinnamon rolls. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take my seal and I'm going to seal it up. And then I'm going to burp the bowl. Now this sink right here, ignore my dirty dishes. I'll have those done while this is doing this. I have warm water in here. And again, you don't want to kill your yeast, so make sure that the water isn't burning hot. Somewhere between 100 and 110 degrees is perfect. And you're going to take your bowl. You want enough water in there that your bowl actually floats. Okay, I realized I said that this bread took an hour from start to finish. That was wrong. It takes 2 hours. So you've got your mixing. It's going to sit in this water for about 30 minutes. Now, if you're using the Thtsa Bowl instead of the Fix and Mix bowl, you want to set a timer for 30 minutes, okay? With the Fix and Mix bowl, what's going to happen is as that yeast is interacting with all of the other ingredients and the sugar, it's going to double the dough, but it's also going to give off a gas. And when that gas gets too much for the seal, it'll pop the seal off and it'll go, and that's when you know that you're ready for the next step. So I'll let you know how long it took. We'll be back. So I just want to show you something. This has only been about 12 minutes. And I don't know if you can see that this seal is bulging. Okay? It'll bulge for probably another 10 minutes or so, but it will go, and then it'll be ready. Okay, so my seal just popped, and it's about 5 minutes after I told you it'd be another 10 minutes. And it popped pretty loudly. I mean, it startled me. So, okay. Sorry. All right. Let me move my things. And so it's just going to come straight off like that. And you can see that the dough has doubled. Now, I told you this is a sticky dough, and you got to get your hands in there. This is a no-knead recipe. I think that mixing it up probably does the kneading, but if you don't want it to stick all over your hands, use 6 tablespoons of butter. There's 8 tablespoons in a stick of butter. Oh my. Okay. And I washed all the dishes, so my hands are clean. Okay. I just finished doing that. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, a third of this dough and put it in there. Oh, I need some more butter. Okay. All right. Now I try to get this even. I don't always do a good job of that. It's obviously, the mixing of it is a pretty exact science, but the splitting up of it, not so much. Okay, so my first pan here looks a little light, and so I'm just going to take the extra out of here. I do like the taste of this dough. I think it's pretty yummy. All right. There we go. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit more butter on my hands. And I'm just going to press this down so that it's taking up the whole pan. Okay. Now this one that I kind of threw some in there. Oh, there we go. This one I just want to kind of make the top look better. There we go. Okay. And then we just have to spread this one out. Okay. So now what's going to happen is these are going to sit for half an hour with a dry towel on top of them. And then when that happens, these will be up to the top. Okay? All right. So let me get my butter out of the way. And I'm just going to take these. And I have a dry, clean towel. And they're just going to sit here for half an hour. So let me pause this. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Okay, so it's been half an hour. And let's see. Look at how beautiful those are. Obviously, I didn't separate the dough as well as I could have. My oven is heated to 350. I'm going to stick these in the oven for 30 minutes. And you'll see them when they come out. Okay, so the timer just went off. And I looked at them before I pulled them out. And they look amazing. Look at that. I love fresh bread. So my grandmother baked bread. And actually, she was an amazing cook. Okay. So here are the 3 loaves. Now, of course, they have to cool, but one little trick. Oops, drop this. We have this much butter left. And so if you take it and just butter the tops of these loaves, then they'll be nice and shiny. Gives it a really nice look. And gives it a nice flavor too. Okay. Ooh, that's hot. Hot stuff. Okay. So one other thing, let me get this rubbed on here. So you will use a whole stick of butter, okay? So one thing that you do want to do is instead of them just sitting here and cooling, I've got them on cooling racks. But one other thing that helps is if you'll turn them on their side. Okay, that way moisture doesn't collect in the bottom. Oh, you know what? It looks like these would, looks like they'd come out. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Okay. Oops. Put a hole in that one. Okay. Well, There we go. 3 beautiful loaves of bread. Oh, it smells amazing in here. And you can actually freeze the loaves once they're cooked if you want to do that. I prefer to take them to people and share because if it's here, I'll eat it. Okay? So thanks for being with me. I hope you have an amazing Christmas day. Thanks. Bye-bye.